In one man's years-long fight for freedom after he spent years in prison for a crime he didn't commit.
There's certainly other people out there that have been wrongly convicted and need to be compensated.
Plus, the latest demonstrations in Portland.
Power to the people! Our time is now!
As protesters push back against the government's immigration crackdown. And the city of Seattle is partying tonight. As the Seahawks get one step closer to the Super Bowl. Thanks so much for joining us here at 11. I'm John Adams. We start off tonight with an investigation into the tragic death of an Oregon teen. The Albany Police Department says it happened sometime after 10 Friday night. At this point, investigators believe 16-year-old Paige McClintock was hit by a car after the car was hit by a rolling tool chest. McClintock was taken to the hospital but died of her injuries. Police do not believe impairment was a factor, but the investigation is ongoing. Greater Albany Public Schools will have counselors available for students next week. New tonight near Kelso, Washington, police are looking into what caused a person to get hit and killed by an Amtrak train. It happened sometime around 5 this evening near Cowlitz Way and North 1st Avenue on BNSF property. Police found the body of a man on scene. No one else was hurt, but train service was delayed for a while. And an update this week on a murder sentencing from Kelso that happened back in 2017. The suspect, Austin Murray, was resentenced Thursday. Murray pled guilty to first-degree murder in 2018 after he was accused of stabbing and killing 35-year-old Ryan Hoven. A resentencing hearing was held on Wednesday after a Washington Supreme Court ruling wiped away his previous drug possession convictions. However, the judge again handed down a 30-year sentence. A man wrongfully convicted of murder in Oregon has now been compensated by the state. Scott Cannon spent 11 years in prison and after getting out has spent even longer trying to see justice served for his wrongful conviction. Jake Holter has the story.
How do you get your life back? How do you get your time?
In 1998, Scott Cannon was arrested for the murder of 3 people, a crime he did not commit. He was convicted in 2000 and sentenced to 3 life sentences after at one point facing the death penalty.
That's absolutely nerve-wracking, having people decide your fate and knowing that there was so many different instances throughout the trial itself where the prosecution was taking liberties with the facts.
One example is the prosecution's use of, quote, comparative bullet-lead analysis, a forensic method the FBI stopped using in 2005 and has widely been declared unreliable. But during the trial, Cannon says the prosecution told the jury that the analysis meant there was a 1 in 64 million chance they had the wrong guy.
It was not disclosed prior to my trial that they had consulted with State Police Crime Lab and were told that bullet lead analysis was a buyer beware testing and that they wouldn't do it.
After getting in touch with an expert in the forensics field while incarcerated, that got the ball rolling to Cannon's eventual exoneration in 2009. Afterwards, the fight began for Cannon's justice.
Oregon had no law on the books whatsoever that even allowed a person to claim compensation for wrongful conviction.
After lobbying for years, the legislature passed the Oregon Justice for Exonerees Act in 2022. And this week, Cannon was compensated and issued a certificate of innocence.
Being the second person in Oregon to get a certificate of innocence, I'm pretty sure more people in Oregon won the lottery.
That certificate, he hopes, will help him rebuild his life. Going forward, Cannon says he will continue to lobby for more legislation to help people who have been in his position.
There's more to be done, and I have hope.
Jake Holter, KGW News.
And Cannon adds he wants to see improvements made on the Justice for Exonerees Act and a bill addressing discredited science used in wrongful convictions. All right, time to talk weather. Taking a live look outside right now. It's a cool and breezy evening, but we saw a fantastic mid-January day with blue skies and lots of sunshine out there. Corey Johnson is joining us now with more on what the rest of the weekend's looking like. Hi, Corey.
Hey John, how you doing? Good evening. Yeah, we did see a beautiful day for us on our Saturday. That's going to continue on our Sunday. But before we get to Sunday, it's going to be a chilly night for us. Some areas seeing frost overnight as well. Getting into it, this is our Rose City camera sitting at 40 degrees currently. Across our area, starting to get chillier as we get later into the evening hours. 36 in the Dalles, 31 in Pendleton currently, 25 right now in Baker City, and it looks like mid-40s right now near the coast. This is our Vancouver camera. The Springs at the waterfront, 33 degrees. Looks like that interstate bridge off in the distance. Lots of cars out there at this time. From the square, many people active out there, also 40 degrees this evening. And so throughout the rest of the evening, we're going to bump down to about 36 degrees. We're going to be dry and clear, but areas of frost will pop up after 3 a.m. before 9 a.m. on our Sunday as well. And so taking a look at futurecasts as we get into our Sunday, going to be another clear, dry day overall. The fog staying south for us, but we do have some air stagnant advisories in place that I want to tell you about. We'll break it all down, plus more of your temperatures for the new work week coming up.
All right, Corey, thanks so much. We'll see you soon. Developing out of Hood River, police are searching for whoever shot a person early this morning, then ran away. It happened just before 2:15 at an apartment complex off Highway 30 west of 13th Street. Officers found the victim was shot multiple times. They were taken to the hospital and detectives asked for witnesses to share what they know. We continue to follow the renewed wave of protests against the government's immigration crackdown. Local groups gathered downtown at Terry Shrunk Plaza. They say to stand against the Trump administration and to call for ICE to get out of Portland. One organizer says after the deadly ICE shooting in Minneapolis, plus the Border Patrol shooting locally, the urgency for city leaders to act is greater than ever.
People are pissed. People are upset, and this has led to a lot of people jobless, a lot of people being deported, a lot of people scared for their life to go outside, and it's not living up to what what the American dream is.
Well, this comes as the woman shot by a Border Patrol agent in Southeast Portland last week made her first court appearance Friday afternoon on immigration charges. Yorlenis Zabrano Contreras is being held on a criminal complaint out of Texas, and prosecutors say she illegally entered the U.S. in 2023. Minneapolis is on edge tonight as people once again took to the streets today. But this time there were dueling crowds demonstrating both in support of and against ICE's presence there. NBC's Shaquille Brewster reports.
Dueling protests tonight in Minneapolis getting heated.
I'm 100% on board with ICE in every way.
Law enforcement on high alert as a conservative influencer and January 6 defendant who was pardoned by President Trump planned to march downtown.
And right in front of the Minneapolis City Hall, you see that conservative pre-planned protest, but you have anti-ICE protesters surrounding them, trying to drown out that message.
The latest round of demonstrations after the fatal shooting death of Renee Good by ICE officer Jonathan Ross.
Get out of the car.
Two people familiar with the investigation into that shooting now telling NBC News federal officials are investigating Good's partner Becca to determine whether she may have impeded that officer before he opened fire. In a statement, her lawyer says there has been no contact from the FBI or federal officials indicating Becca Good is the subject of an investigation. As the Justice Department also investigates Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey for allegedly conspiring to impede federal immigration agents through their public statements, two sources tell NBC News.
The most striking thing about this investigation is that it appears so far to be centered primarily on the speech of Walz and Frey. But if they find any additional conduct, then speech plus conduct can be punished.
The Justice Department tonight not commenting. Frey calling it an obvious attempt to intimidate me. Waltz writing, quote, the only person not being investigated for the shooting of Renee Good is the federal agent who shot her. But even in areas without protests, many residents in Minneapolis are hurting.
You're just constantly, your head's on a swivel.
Stores are empty, your day-to-day life is just very different.
Pilates instructor Sabrina Chavez says she sees the impact in the faces of her clients as she tries to project strength herself.
It feels so heavy. I try the best I can to be strong for them so they can have some escape, and I want to be able to give that to them. It's so heartbreaking.
was a celebration that spilled into the streets of Seattle tonight. Nearly 70,000 fans packed Lumen Field to watch the Seahawks absolutely roll past the 49ers. They'll now advance to the NFC Championship game. Washingtonians we heard from are ready for what's to come.
McDonald's got these guys' heads in the right place. You know, to meld a team like he did. None of the other coaches have been able to do that.
Right, that's true.
It's almost like he brought in some woo-woo stuff, you know, and brought the guys together.
Orlando Sanchez is going to join us later in sports with the highlights and what comes next for the Hawks.